Hello and welcome to another episode of I Draw You Watch, the weekly video where I draw one of my cartoons for the website snapcontroller.com and talk over the top of them about any old nonsense, mainly media or gaming related, but this one's going to be totally on T-fly, as the kids say, or without preparation, as adults would say. In my usual vein of choosing a random colour, I've gone for orange in this one to sketch it, which is interesting. This is the comic for July 3rd, where I made a joke about the Croughnut, which is a deep fried croissant covered in icing. I mean, what's not to like about that? I love donuts. I'm hungry. Jesus, I should have got some food before I sat down to talk about donuts. I'm not going to talk about donuts, but this strip is about the Croughnut, which is an invention by some French geezer who has a restaurant in New York, or a bakery, and yeah, he deep fried some croissant shaped jobbies and then covered them in donut icing and sold them, and people went apeshit for them, because you would, wouldn't you? Because it's delicious. Jodie told me about them a long time ago, and I thought, yeah, that sounds good, because I like croissants and I like donuts. So I thought, yeah, that sounds good, but I didn't really get the deep fried aspect of it. So I just sort of, yeah, that'd be lovely to have. And then we saw him in a TV program, and I went, oh my god, yes please. But they're only in New York, apparently. So no chance of me getting them. I'm in a real writer's block situation at the moment. I'm having a massive issue coming up with strip ideas. Like, I had a massive block of maybe 7 or 8 strip ideas in a row within a couple of days, and I have a list that I set aside, and I wrote them all down. It was cool, and then I sort of got out of the habit of thinking about things in that way. You never truly get out of the habit. If something really strikes you, you're like, man, that's funny, I'm writing it down. But you tend to, when I know I'm on a deadline or when I know I'm running short, I tend to try and make anything funny and fail, as you've said. No, I don't fail. They're funny. Nah, funny. No. But at the moment, I'm literally sitting and actually thinking about jokes. I'm trying to create not create situations, but thinking about situations, then creating some kind of joke around that situation. And I forced one this week. Like this is being recorded on the 15th of July. Today's comic is good, but could have been better if I'd have polished it a little bit more. It's, I don't know, it's just a little bit, not stale, what's the word? It's just a bit, it needed a better punch. It just needed a lot better. It didn't it didn't benefit from having, the second panel was just a drawn panel. It was a beat. It was a, so what they call in comics a beat, where you have one panel where nothing is said, but there's maybe a change in gesture, or one character staring at another one. It didn't need that beat the way I wrote it. So I could have written it better and left the beat in, or I could have got rid of the beat and written it better, but I didn't. So but that's where I'm at the moment. I'm kind of in this sort of stuck situation, and I can't really spend too long thinking about jokes, because I know that one's got to be drawn and up, because my buffer's diminishing, and it's always nice to have a nice buffer when you're drawing comics, because anything can happen. We're moving soon. It seems like every weekend is just rammed at the moment, so any spare time I would have to draw comics when I'm not actually working, I'm not getting the opportunity to. So it's basically sitting down as soon as I get in from work and drawing a comic, and I need to have the idea ready so that I can just sit down, the comic's written, and I just draw it. And that's not happening at the moment because I don't have the comic written, so I end up thinking, right, I've got to get this done, so that's good enough, and then we'll get on with it, and that's fine. Like, no one wants me to go, right, you get a polished joke, whether that's 4 a week or 1 a month. No one wants that. You want 4 comics a week, but at the same time, they've got to be well formed. They can't just be, you can't just give up completely. but sometimes you do have to just drop in a few jokes that are just generic because you've just got to get the comic out there. You've got to get it done because you know that you've not got the opportunity, or you've not got the luxury of time to think about them. So yeah, I'm in a real, sticky area. I've got a storyline that is, rattling around in my head, which I've already got a couple of jokes for, which are good jokes. Like they're already completely fleshed out and they're good. But but the whole storyline, I need to have the story in there as well. And these are just two jokes towards the back end of what would be the story. So I need to try and flesh out that story, and it's probably an 8-page one, so 2 weeks worth probably. And then it becomes part of the canon of the strip. So yeah, so I'm thinking I will probably try and introduce that at some point soon, because I'd rather do it now, because at not Christmas, but at sort of September onwards, when the nights start drawing in, I say my traffic increases. I think it does just generally, because people are not in the summer, people are out, people are on holiday. Whereas in the winter, they're in front of their tellies or their laptops or whatever. So I want to do the story so that I can go back to just one panel jokes through September, October, November, because then come Christmas, I'm going to want to do a story again to get through Christmas, because like I've done the last 2 years, like you've read. So yeah, that's my plan. But at the same time, not having jokes hard, because that's still only 2 weeks between, and I've done until possibly the end of July. So I'm looking at still another 2 weeks worth of jokes I've got to get written before I do this story, and then I've still got to come up with jokes after that. But you never know. So tonight I could be sitting around with Jodie and my family and watching telly, and things are said and funny things happen, and I all of a sudden get a massive rush of jokes. That's the way it works, and I've learned not to get too downhearted about it, but that's just where I am at the moment. It's been probably a week now where I haven't really come up with anything new, and in that time, obviously, the buffer, I've lost a week's worth of buffer because of that. So yeah, so maybe I might start doing a little bit of research on other methods of coming up with, because I'm sure people have got their other methods, and there's probably plenty of information out there. So I might do a little bit of that, and taking in information, be it through watching telly or reading articles on the internet or listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos. Taking in information all of a sudden creates jokes, because someone will say something, you think there's a joke there for sure, and more often than not there is. So yeah, that's probably the way I'll go, just so that I can get back ahead of myself, so that should anything come up, because when this move happens, I mean, that's going to be it's going to be a lot of work, not just the fact that we're moving, but there's going to be a lot of work that I'm doing in the new house. So that's going to take up a lot of my time, and I'm not going to rush that to do this. It'll be more that I'll be rushing this to do that, because that's more important at this point in time. So I want to get ahead, like really ahead. So yeah, that's roughly where I'm at the moment, and we're nearly halfway through this video, and I haven't really spoken about anything. But maybe that's enough, just talking about that stuff. This comic I really liked, because despite it being a 3-panel, just a normal 3-panel joke, if you like, the artwork, especially the expressions, which is what sell it, are really cool. Especially Lawrence's expression in the 3rd panel. When it gets to it, I'll sort of try and highlight if I remember. But Lawrence's expression in the 3rd panel I was really proud of. I sketched his face, and I re-sketched it just to get that expression right, and it really works out really cool. And then and also that there's a little throwaway joke in panel 1 which I also like, where he's saying something, like Lawrence says something about speaking with Jodie, and Warren says something along the lines of stop having secret meetings with my wife, which is really, I just thought it was a cool little, it's one of those things that you could laugh at. if you're a fan of comics and the structure and stuff like that. You don't really need to be a fan of the structure. I mean, that's just a funny line, I think, for me. You know, there's stuff like that. I read a Charles Schultz Peanuts comic. There was a massive bumper collection when I was shopping a few weeks back. Actually, it was quite a while ago, but it just stuck in my mind. I went into the comic section of a bookshop, and it was this bumper book of Peanuts comics, and I just flicked through it, and a lot of them were just throwaway. And Charles Schultz was the ultimate in making sure he got one out every day, and they weren't always funny, but they were always, you know, well presented. And certainly there was a joke or a bit of story or something there. But one thing tickled me. It was something to do with. I'm going to do this such a disservice now because I can't remember the exact joke. It was something to do with someone having a warranty. Someone having a warranty. Oh man. This makes it sound absolutely awful. I think, if I'm lucky, I took a picture of it because no, I didn't. That's a shame. Yeah, but in any case, there are little throwaway lines in amongst the actual main gag that are. That's the sort of thing that also makes me laugh. There was a comic by. This is a better story because I know exactly what happened in this one. There's an artist called Frank Cho who started off drawing comics like this at university, and he did a comic called University Squared, which he then transformed into a more widely known comic called Liberty Meadows, which is about an animal sanctuary where animals go for sickness or treatment or whatever. And there's a bear who used to be a circus performer in Moscow. There's a frog who's a hypochondriac. There's a mad cow, obviously, and then there's this guy who works there, and a girl called Brandy. And he draws really well. Like, he drew Marvel. He drew the Ultimate Avengers. No, not the Ultimate Avengers. What, the Mighty Avengers? He drew the Mighty Avengers for a spell. Like, that's how good an artist he is. He's not just like a comic artist. He's a proper, Marvel job. So he draws Brandy really well, and the guy that works there, I think his name's Frank. I think that's his name. Yeah. So he's infatuated with this Brandy, and that's basically the storyline. But there was a story about the mad cow, and the joke was just a normal throwaway joke about the cow being mad, but or the joke was about the cow wanted to give Frank some milk, and obviously we know where milk comes from, and it's a cow that's been humanized, so it's standing up on hind legs sort of thing with hands. So Frank's like, no, I don't want any milk. And then the joke is that he wants how about a milkshake then? And you're immediately thinking, he's shaking the udder to get the milk out, and it's coming out frothy, and all the imagery that comes with. But the funniest part about the whole comic was the sound notation above the cow, because it was like hunched over with its back to the viewer, and all you had by the side of it, apart from the shaking motion, was the words "shika shika shika," and that was the perfect onomatopoeia sound notation for me to just bawl out laughing in the middle of a crowded canteen. It was just one of those things I'll always remember. And whenever I have to come up with sound notations for my comics, whenever there's one in there, I always try to make sure that it's the perfect sound, because that shika shika shika, it's just, you just imagine a cow having a wank, and that's the noise basically. So yeah, you got to put that in. So what is next? I saved an article That was the one thing I did have planned, because I read this article and I thought, I'm talking about that. And I've literally saved the entire article, so I'm going to read the article. And it is about the headline was Assassin's Creed player kills baby. That was the line, right? So here we go. A father has been jailed for 8 years for killing his 5-week-old daughter who screamed while he played a computer game. Mark, I don't know why they had to lead with that, but okay. Mark Sandland suddenly lost his temper at his flat in East Sussex, where he picked up Amy Rose and violently shook her. The 28-year-old later told officials he had suffered an epileptic fit and had regained consciousness to find the baby trapped underneath him. Obviously bullshit, but carry on. Lewis Crown Court heard Sandland of St Leonards-on-Sea had logged onto a website offering tips on how to play Assassin's Creed 3 on November 15th, 2012. Right, that's the first bit of actual evidence. Second bit. The prosecutor, Sally Howes QC, said there would have been little point in him reading the site's step-by-step instructions unless he was playing the game at the time. Right? There was obviously no 20-something-year-old person in that courtroom that could have put their hand up and go, "Whoa, excuse me, I think you'll find that people read websites that offer tips." I've read countless articles on GameFAQs when I'm nowhere near a 360 or a PS3 or any game console to be able to play the game, just because I want to know the information for when I do play it next. That is the biggest leap of faith into someone's, like, I have no doubt this guy was playing Assassin's Creed and his baby was annoying him and he got up and he tried to shut her up and he shook her and she died, and he's a fucking mental case. But it was a massive leap. It was just, they said he was playing the game because they've got the records that he was on that website. They've got no record that the actual console was on and he was playing the game or anything like that. And it wound me up, because it's always just, oh, let's link back to games, which is why I've done a really, really good comic for next week. That brought me, you know, actually, well, I'll say me. I made the comment about it later to Jodie, and then she came up with a joke. So maybe that's it. Maybe I just need to tell Jodie a load of stuff, and then she gives me jokes. And then, because recently 2 of this week's comics are hers, and 1 of next week's. They're both pretty much her jokes. I've turned them into comic form, but she's the punch, or you know, or the actual gag in the strip is hers. She's made it. So yeah, either she's getting funnier or I'm losing it. She's getting funnier. I'm not losing it. I'm still bang on. But yeah, that's it's just annoying the way they always link back to games, and sometimes the game's irrelevant. There are angry people out there, and they're going to do stupid stuff, and the game may influence how they do their stupid stuff. The game may, you know, directly set them off, in so much as they were getting stressed out of the game, so that's when they snapped, rather than them being at work or being in an argument or someone bumping into them on the street or having a car accident. You know, it was the stress of the game that tipped them over the edge. But we've got to stop putting the blame on games, because it's gone on for way longer than it did for television and movies. I mean, we had the big Jamie Bolger case where the kids, these kids that were like fucking 10, 11 or whatever they were, took and killed a kid, Jamie Bolger. In case you didn't know about this in America or wherever you're listening from, there was a kid in England called Jamie Bolger, and 2 kids of themselves, 10 and 11, took this little baby and killed him in a horrific way, because they had seen Chucky. They'd seen Child's Play. So they thought, oh, fuck off with the noise of the bloody phone ringing. No one's here. That was the longest message I've ever heard anyone leave, ever. My God, that went on forever. So yeah, because they'd seen Child's Play, they killed this kid, and it was pretty bad. And you know, there was a lot of movie movie violence talk, and that was what was blamed and everything else. And it's always, you know, it goes around, and there'll be something else soon. It'll be virtual reality. It'll be the next thing. Virtual reality. He killed people virtually, and then he decided to do it really, because that was the ultimate next level, was him to fucking do it in actual reality or some fucking horseshit. That'll be the headline. You can bank on it. Fucking in the Inquirer or in America and the fucking Daily Mail over here. Why do I keep getting annoyed? I saw another thing today. We've got. Oh no, I'm not going to talk about that because it's too local. It's too local, too personal. I'll leave it. We'll leave it. This is the expression I was talking about, though. That is the smug kind of, you know, I've gotcha. I know. Smug expression. It's very, very cool. I just nailed it. I just absolutely nailed it. It's exactly what the image I had in my head is the exact image. So, yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Hopefully you actually look at the pictures. A lot of people don't. I know that. People read the words and they laugh at the joke and then they move on. They don't particularly look at the picture more often than not. But some people do, and I hope if you did, you enjoyed it as much as I did, because I was pretty proud of that one. Right, I'm all done, because on T-Fly, as them kids say, means I don't have anything left to talk about, and I can't really think of anything to talk about at the moment. There's a couple of games that I've got on their way that I'm going to play and I'll be able to talk about next time. But for now, I'm going to leave it and say thank you very much for listening and watching, and I hope you have got a little bit of entertainment out of it. As always, please check the site and check back to the channel for all the other videos that I make, and I will see you next time on I Draw You Watch. See you later. Take care. Bye. Well, I've just realised that I've already talked over the drawing of this strip, so I apologise for that, everyone, and I'll see you next week when I have a new strip for you to enjoy. See you then. Bye.